Today's episode of the Bill Simmons podcast is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, SeatGeek. They've been our presenting sponsor since the 1940s, and right now it's almost Super Bowl time, and buying tickets can be extra complicated. It's a huge investment, and that's why our friends at SeatGeek are here to help. SeatGeek, committed to helping you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed with their revolutionary grading system and a team of ticket concierge experts that are a phone call away with free advice. Download the SeatGeek app today and get your tickets to see my Patriots take on the Falcons in Houston, or check out their Super Bowl tracker on SeatGeek.com. I would say SeatGeek is going to be very valuable over these next few days because there are going to be tickets available for this game, it looks like. SeatGeek's your friend. Check them out. SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app. SeatGeek is your friend. Check them out. We're also brought to you by the Ringer NFL Show. Robert Mays, Kevin Clark, Danny Kelly, and new Ringer edition Mike Lombardi doing Super Bowl podcasts all week. Subscribe right now on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, before we start, I was supposed to do a podcast with Tracy Morgan today, but it turns out I have severe strep throat. I think all the stress from the Patriots winning the fifth Super Bowl murdered my immune system. I don't know what happened. So we had to audible. We taped a White Man Can't Jump podcast for our Sports Movie Hall of Fame series, which usually runs on Channel 33. We are running it here on the Bill Simmons podcast so you can get a taste of what you're missing if you haven't downloaded any of the podcasts on the Channel 33 feed that we've done, or if you haven't subscribed. So check it out. This is me, Chris Ryan, and Rember Brown breaking down White Men Can't Jump for the Sports Movie Hall of Fame series.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Bill Simmons. I'm with Chris Ryan. Say hi, Chris.
Hey, what's up?
This is the fourth installment of the Sports Movie Hall of Fame, America's favorite new podcast of 2017. We did Jerry Maguire. We did Moneyball. We did Any Given Sunday. Which one do you think got the most feedback for the first three?
I think that Moneyball did.
It was weird.
I still
Moneyball.
think we play really well with the Sloan Conference guys.
Today is White Men Can't Jump, a movie that I've had a very conflicted relationship with over the last almost 25 years. I saw it in Worcester, Massachusetts with Jacko and Joe House, actually. Rosie Perez on a 50-foot screen was both delightful and scarring emotionally. She's the most polarizing figure of this movie. It's a great basketball movie. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I had the same reaction you did when I watched it a couple days ago, where you're watching the first 35 minutes and you go, wow, this is unbelievable. It's so good.
Yeah.
That first 35, 40 minutes with just the first 19-minute scene, then the second basketball scene, then the third one, really great. And then after that, really depends on
turns
how
into
you
a different
feel about
movie.
White
Yeah.
Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the first 35 minutes. Opening scene is, I looked up after it was over, it was 19 at the 19-minute mark already.
It's unbelievable how long that is, and you don't ever notice it.
Right.
I personally
It
don't.
moves so nice. It's
And
almost like a Broadway play.
There's three scenes within it. There's the first 2-on-2 scene with Wesley and that guy who gets his ankle, who rolls his ankle,
Yeah.
and then there's all the mama jokes, and then Woody really comes into it with the end of the 2-on-2 and then the 3-point shooting contest. So it's almost like a mini television show within that first 30 minutes.
Right. So the plot of White Men Can't Jump, it's basically a playground basketball movie that morphs into Woody Harrelson just repeatedly losing his money.
Yeah.
And that becomes the pervasive plot of the movie. But
I think that
did it feel that dated to you?
I think some of the rhythms of the jokes felt dated, like the idea of stopping everything to have like a circle of insulting each other, which is not altogether different than what happens in like a Judd Apatow movie where like a scene will stop so that Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen can
Becomes a roast.
Yeah. But even with like the fashion, and even although the fashion, like a lot of the fashion has kind of come back into style.
That's true.
The basketball feels very real to me and very current. Like the way that they play feels really real. And I just think that I felt like it was the thing that jumped out at me about the rewatch was it is such a good LA movie.
So good.
It's like the
Such a
side of LA
great
you
Venice.
just don't ever see really, and like it's dirty, and people are living in these apartment buildings that are like pushed off of like, you know, off the road in weird parts, probably Culver or whatever. I think Culver City comes up on this podcast a lot.
There's some Crenshaw. There was all kinds of stuff. We started. You can sit down with us.
Come on in.
Remember Brown joining us. So yeah, it opens with Woody in Venice early in the morning with these guys singing, and it is like the cleanest, nicest version of Venice I've ever seen in my life. And if that Venice existed all the time, we would all be there every weekend.
I know.
Unfortunately, it is not.
So do you know much about like how realistic is like the culture around the courts out in Venice like that? Do you know much about that stuff?
I don't, but I would imagine it's not that realistic. I mean,
it's not the cage. It's not like the New York courts or the Rucker or something, right? I mean, I'm sure that I'm going to get roasted by West Coast basketball people right now, but like,
I've lived here for 14 years, and I love basketball, and I was on basketball shows that were on ESPN, and nobody at any point ever said to me, "Did you get down to Venice yet?" It just never happened. But it sets up with Wesley Snipes, who we'll get to later. Mm-hmm. He's
Sidney Dean.
A lot of trash talking is Sidney Dean. I can't even really describe his basketball game, but Billy Hoyle ends up, played by Woody Harrelson, ends up scamming him for $62, and that sets off this chain of events. But we go from that basketball game to then Snipes follows him home, they team up, and then Snipes double crosses him. It's all good. It's really nice beats. But I want to talk about that 19-minute scene for a second. The Yo Mama jokes, you seem like you feel like they were dated. I thought they were fantastic still after, like, it almost like created the Yo Mama joke universe, right?
Kadeem Hardison, now we'll be referencing this a bunch, but in I think the first year of Grantland, Thomas Scolionopolis did an oral history of White Man Can't Jump, and Kadeem Hardison takes a lot of credit for like the explosion of Yo Mama jokes after this movie. I mean, like a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still funny. It's just like, I think that we're used to a different kind. It's in a weird way, it predates. It's very much like that improv comedy that we're used to now, where it seems like everything is off the cuff. It's just that, like, I can't imagine ever being in a situation where people were like, we're going to stop everything that's going on for 25 minutes of sustained mother jokes. It's also funny, like, what trips the line. Like, your mother's an astronaut, and, like, that's the fight. It's like, my mama ain't no astronaut. It's like, I was just like, that's not that insulting.
That is true. Yeah, I felt like this was like there's a lot of these pre-internet movies. Yeah. And this is definitely one of them. Like the way everybody kind of goes at each other is eventually it just would take place on a message board.
Yeah. And there's also like in that first scene, there's some stuff about like Sidney taking Michael Jordan to the hole. Like Michael Jordan came out to Venice to ball and like Sidney scored on him. And I love that like pre-internet mythology. There was all sorts of stuff about
no
like,
way to check it.
I'm not even sure if it happened, but in Philly, you'd always hear about like, I heard Iverson came out. Yeah. I heard Iverson came by the courts. And
just wearing shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Like Iverson came out.
Put a mink coat on, took it off.
Seriously, yeah. He was wearing a starter jacket and scored 33.
So at the time, seeing this in 1992, Wesley Snipes, you knew him from New Jack City, basically, and he was Willie Mays in Major League, which was a big movie back then. And then he was in New Jack City. He was in a couple Spike Lee movies, but there was still room to grow with Wesley Snipes. Hadn't totally figured him out, and this is probably his best movie, I would say, just in terms of the Wesley Snipes, the full scope of the Wesley personality.
Yeah, I guess
everything likable and interesting and mysterious about him is all in this movie.
It's also his charisma on 100 in New Jack City. It's his charisma on 100 in an evil way. And this is like the most important thing about con man movies is that you can see yourself being conned by that person. And Wesley, like to Ron Shelton, the writer-director's credit, it's not like a straight con movie. It's like these guys who are hustling each other, but they eventually kind of, team up and fall apart and come back together. But you can see yourself get seduced by somebody like Wesley Snipes and believing like, I need to help this guy.
Huge charisma.
Yeah, unbelievable.
We're going to talk about... He did hold the Black Actor Championship belt for a couple years. When Rem comes in, we're going to talk about that. But so he's there. You have a little background with him, but not enough yet.
Yeah.
So still discovering him a tiny bit. And then Woody Harrelson was basically Woody on Cheers, and that was it.
It's still at a time when like the TV to movie jump is so hard for guys.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, Woody Harrelson's in that movie? That's weird. I only know him as Woody the bartender. And for anybody young listening to this, Cheers was one of the three biggest shows of the 80s and 90s and was just a massive, massive pop culture everything.
Yeah.
And it was hard to break out of that.
And he was
most of the
playing
people
somebody on
haven't.
Cheers named Woody Boyd,
Right.
and so I
Who
think
was dumb, country
and I think a
bumpkin.
lot of people just like associated him with that role, right? So even if he was going to break out of that, he talks about in that oral history it was a hard time finding movie roles, and he's
Yeah.
like, maybe I'm just going to be on Cheers forever. And this is a role where he got to play somebody a little dirtier, a little bit more dark than Woody Boyd, but still had some of that like kind of dorky charisma that he has on
So
Cheers.
that was one of my revelations was he's fantastic in this movie. I would say he's been in some good movies and had some good roles, and this is his best performance. And not just that, we're researching on the internet some people who might have gotten this, and like Keanu Reeves was.
So Keanu was pretty close. It sounds like they wanted him, and
That's a disaster.
He just couldn't play basketball, and
Couldn't
they
play
were just like,
basketball.
"There's nothing we can do about this."
That hasn't stopped a lot of other people from being cast in sports movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, he couldn't play
I think you
basketball.
can hide inability. You can do just stunt doubles in football, as we saw with the replacements. Probably,
Which you can hide it.
You can do different stuff. You can cut away in
Pitching, you
baseball.
can hide
sure,
it.
yeah. I don't even.
Freddie
Could
Prinze
Tim Robbins
Jr. and
pitch?
summer catch? No,
Yeah.
Tim Robbins. Well, he alleges that he threw his arm out, but I don't think he could
Okay.
pitch. Yeah,
Sorry.
Coster threw like 150,000 pitches in For Love of the Game and was fine.
Yeah.
His rotator cuff was. But yeah, so Denzel was in the mix for the Sidney Dean part
But I
for
think
a
didn't
split
wanna
second, but he was
share
just
it.
too
Yeah,
big.
right.
He wanted to do Malcolm X instead. So Wesley gets in there, but Woody Harrelson, not only a revelation, not only the best person who could have played that role, really, really good hoops player.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just no denying it. You watch his game and it's like there's a little like Zach LaVine, Chase Budinger kind of
He's a gunner, and it feels like he's just
gunner, but with a nice handle
Yeah.
and a nice rhythm and a
Little bit of a point forward. Yeah.
Could guard bigger guys.
yeah, you can slide up or slide down.
That was one of the flaws in the movie is as they keep playing these different teams that they're trying to hustle and then they go into the 2-on-2 tournament and they could just Woody Harrelson can guard guys of all sizes.
and
He's like Draymond Green.
How tall is Wesley Snipes?
I mean 5'9", 5'10".
Because he's doing some pretty incredible, like leaping out of the sky to block
Well, he
guys.
dunks at one point, which if you create a scale of most improbable dunks and Ed Norton in American History X,
Yeah.
the reverse two-hander is at the very, very, very top.
yeah.
Snipes just casually
Yeah.
goes flying in for a dunk here in one of the pickup games.
They also shot
with
it.
a nice little camera angle shooting up at him. Yeah.
They shot it a couple of these scenes. They shoot it at a different frame speed so that they basically like it does slow mo in a really nice way.
Yeah.
And there's a Wesley Snipes 360 layup that would not ever work in any competitive basketball game in America. No 360 layup has ever gotten off on a playground where anybody was trying to defend it.
There's another one where the guy is going in for the layup and turns around to look at
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson and then does this crazy flip.
Yeah.
And it happens. There's a lot of slow motion
Yeah.
to basically cut
But that being
corners
said, the
with-
basketball, there's I think this Hoosiers, I think it's the best basketball, like in terms of like you're right there with screens being set. You can feel guys like
It's
popping
great.
open.
But we'll get to it later. But they fuck up the last scene, the
Yes.
last big basketball scene.
At the tournament or the last
The
one?
last one,
Okay.
Too much slow motion. And here's my biggest nitpick with this movie is the soundtrack.
I
If
love
you-
the soundtrack.
Well,
I can't.
but if you listen to the soundtrack for that last game, first of all, where's the hip hop? How are there not like two
So I think
rap
that-
songs or
I think
hip hop
that
songs in this movie? It's
part
like
of
the
it is
perfect
like
dance,
the 92. Part of it is that hip hop's still breaking into the mainstream. So
coulda
that
slid in,
I
like,
feel like it's like a
somebody.
funkier version of the Midnight Run soundtrack, and in that so I
That's
just feel like
exactly what it is.
yeah,
You're right.
and it's like that Danny Elfman like na-na-na-na-na-na. Bow, bow, bow. And it works for what it is. I actually kind of
don't know.
enjoy it.
I would have loved to have just thrown in because
If they had like a Black Sheep song in there, it would be great. Like if there was like a Choice Is Yours like scene in this movie, that would be amazing. I don't even know if that's a 92 song or if it's a little bit later, but like it just would have been incredible.
Well, one of the reasons I love Above the Rim, one of many, is they just casually sneak in Big Pimpin'.
Yes.
By Snoop and the Dog
Yeah,
Pound.
yeah.
For like 2 minutes at one point, but it kind of, that song belongs to that specific era.
Uh-huh.
And there is a really nice 91 to 92 hip hop / rap era. There's like a couple songs they could have just pulled out.
Yeah.
Like, give me like the perfect basketball song from late 91. You could have gone super early Tupac at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had something
you
like
wanted somebody
you could have had
West
like
Coast.
Scenario playing or something like that. Yeah,
somebody.
Yeah.
Or even like if they had done PM Dawn, I wouldn't have been
I
upset.
don't think those guys would have been listening to PM Dawn. I don't think the guys in White Men Can't Jump mess with
So
PM Dawn.
Woody's Game, we would compare him to a little Zach Levine,
Short Dirk.
short Dirk.
There's a lot of elbows. There's a lot of contact. There's a lot of fades.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it. Marco Bellinelli.
Yeah. A little
almost had
Manu.
European
It's
game.
it's pre-European. Yeah.
Billy Hoyles.
Yeah.
Really like Guillermo Hoyle.
And so he has this story where he was playing college ball and he had been paid to to throw a game by some
Shaky
gangsters,
story,
the
yeah.
Studi brothers. I think
can't imagine how much money he lost them that you just had two guys with a bad haircut
Well,
trying
Bill,
to kill you for a whole movie.
the VIG was running.
I didn't realize the big was already.
In every movie in which somebody owes a gangster money, the VIG is outrageous. It's like there's like this insane interest rate. I mean, I understand that's how the mafia works, but that's one of several plot lines that you're like, wow, this movie really turns into these other plot lines after a certain point. And the biggest we're gonna get to, I'm sure, being Rosie Perez's Jeopardy run.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that later on. There's a couple things that happen in those first 25 minutes. One is that, did we reach peak Kadeem Hardison?
Yeah, I think first season Different World is pretty incredible, but this might be.
That set it up. That was like his Michael Jordan in the 80s run. And then
That's
this
him
was
at
like,
UNC.
This is the three-peat.
Different World is Kadeem Hardison at UNC.
I think he laid the groundwork for at least 3 careers of 3 Wayne brothers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which 3. But
Also has my favorite Kadeem Hardison line in White Men Can't Jump is definitely when he. This is a larger point I need to make. I can't believe inflation now, where like the amount of effort these guys are putting into like $60
I know.
is
It's
mind blowing.
like $5,000.
But it's
Yeah.
like in the movie when he's just like, "Can I borrow $20 from Kadeem Hardison?" He's like, "I can't give them money." He's like, "We'll go to Sizzler."
Yeah.
And it's like, go to Sizzler after. I remember thinking like, "Damn, Sizzler must be awesome."
I know.
Like,
I was upset we didn't have a Sizzler near us at college. Yeah, that led to his greatest line, which was the "We going Sizzler."
We going Sizzler.
But yeah, so the Umama jokes, a couple of them are funny. I played that scene for my son, who
How did it play?
has been rattling off Yo Mama jokes that he's been finding on YouTube for 3 years, and he was mildly impressed by a couple.
I feel like your mom, like the mama jokes were like such a line. I mean, it gets shown in this movie, but like for something that was such a competitive and group act, like nothing pissed people off like making fun of each other's mothers.
Right.
So people would like really get pissed off like really fast when that would happen. I remember a couple of fights. I went to a Quaker school and there were still fights in school over that.
Well, the other thing with YouTube, I think that whole scene just goes on YouTube, and then people wouldn't have thought as inclined to watch the movie. But back then, it was like the movie just moves in these different pieces. Rosie Perez comes in, who she'd been in a Spike Lee movie. She was in Do the Right Thing, and then I think she was in one other one, but another one that we hadn't totally discovered yet. One of the most polarizing sports movie characters of all time.
Rosie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even rewatching, and I am not a big Rosie Perez fan. By about the hour 15 mark, it's just tough. The voice is tough, and just, hey, Billy, what's wrong?
So,
like, it's just, I know you feel
This
the
is
complete opposite.
It's either a generational difference or like, because I think it
Or
matters
maybe
when
you
you
just
see.
like Rosie Perez.
I do like Rosie Perez.
You do like her?
Yes. She was great in Do the Right Thing, and she was amazing in White Man Can't Jump. And I think it's like, when I saw this movie, I was just like on the edge of puberty. You know what I mean? Like I'm just
And she
getting.
sent you through.
Well, I think so. She gave me the shove I
Shannon
needed.
Tweed was like that for me.
Yeah, but I was just like, I thought that was also for me when I saw this movie. I remember being like, so this is what relationships are like. Like when you get a girlfriend, this is like Billy Hoyle and
keep losing
Gloria
money and she keeps giving you
or just
chances.
screaming at each other and having sex.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great. That sounds like that's what adulthood
And
is
then
going
it
to be
turned
like.
out it's just screaming at each
Yeah,
other.
that's right.
And there's no sex.
Yeah, so I really enjoy her in this movie, and then I think the cool thing about
Wait,
this.
can you hold on the Rosie
Yeah,
thing
sure.
for a second? Sometimes we like to do fake basketball stats or fake stats for characters.
Okay.
Woody Harrelson, to me, this is like a Durant performance. This is like a Durant at Golden State performance.
Very efficient.
13 for 18.
Yeah.
12 rebounds.
Yeah.
No turnovers. Just phenomenal. Rosie it's like she's Jamal Crawford, but it's Jamal Crawford when Chris Paul and JJ Redick are hurt, and it's like
36
shots. Jamal
shots.
Crawford 45 minutes, and it's like, oh,
You
man.
get a league pass alert. It's like Jamal Crawford is going for 50 points.
He's
You're like,
taking
what
50
the
field
hell?
goals. Rosie, I think, in a movie like this is meant to come off the bench and carry a couple scenes, maybe hit one 4-point play, which would be either one of her nude scenes that she has in this, and then, but I just don't need her for 45 minutes. I think it should have been more of like a male bonding buddy. It's basically a buddy cop movie with basketball, right?
It depends on how you look at it, because for me, this movie is basically like The Sting meets Bull Durham, and I do think that it's obviously a great sports film, and it has just some of.
But like in Bull Durham, Sarandon, like to me,
But Crash
that's
Davis
perfect.
disappears for like 30 minutes.
Sarandon's great in that movie, and she's the co-lead. I
Right.
think the leads to me in this movie are Snipes and Woody.
And that's
And
certainly.
Rosie Perez should have come in a couple times, but not dominated.
I guess I just appreciate it's unique in that, right? It's unique in that, like, the story goes on off the field kind of thing, and that's like
Yeah.
in sports movies that.
I like when we disagree.
Yeah, no, and I just think that this movie is a very like divisive last 40 minutes because it's pretty dark, and also he doesn't get the girl,
And there's no basketball.
and there's like just like a real 25-minute long Jeopardy scene.
And a lot of unanswered questions. Like, so they play this one game. Oh no, they played against this guy who basically snookered them out of money. But
Yeah.
then they go back and he's like, if you hit this half court shot, hook shot, I'm a guard on the lot where Jeopardy is. And Snipes is like, he'll get you in.
Right.
I'm positive that's not how Jeopardy works. To get
I'm
on.
pretty sure.
It's
Although
like
it was 92,
the security
who knows?
guard who's
Yeah.
playing basketball and hustling for money all the time. He's got another Jeopardy contestant to get in here. So she gets in and she wins. But back then in Jeopardy, you just kept winning until you lost.
Yeah.
So she's only on
But
one
she has
show.
like a whole thing where she's like, I'm gonna go on Tournament Champions. Like, there's like an annual thing. Like,
This is the one time I wanted more Rosie Perez.
Yeah.
I want to know how many times did she win?
we should have had a sequel that's just all about Gloria going through Jeopardy.
Gloria, did she win 6 times? The
Yeah.
Tournament of
And she was
Champions?
also going to become a daytime soap opera actress. That's what her dream is when she's out there.
A lot of Alex Trebek. Mm-hmm. Probably a tiny bit too much.
It's a strange.
Oh, Rem's almost ready to get in. I can see it. Oh, you ready? Come on in.
Quick break to talk about Indochino. Every man looks better in a suit, so why get one of those generic off-the-rack ones? You should try Indochino. It's one of the largest made-to-measure menswear brands. Let them help you find great-fitting, high-quality suits and shirts at an incredible price. Here's how it works. Visit Indochino.com or drop by one of their 9 North American showrooms. Pick from hundreds of fabrics and patterns. Choose customizations. Submit your body measurements. Then kick back, relax, and get ready to step into the best, most stylish suit you've ever worn in just 4 weeks. This week, my listeners can get any premium Indochino suit for just $389 at Indochino.com. As long as you enter BS at checkout. That's 50% off the regular price for a made-to-measure premium suit. Plus, shipping is free and your satisfaction is guaranteed, or your money back. That's Indochino.com. Promo code BS, INDOCHINO.com. Promo code BS. Back to the podcast.
So you asked a couple of minutes ago. We can keep talking about Rosie, but I remember the thing about this for me, and was that it's 92, and like I'm in school in Philly, and hip hop is just starting to like kind of really go mainstream. I'd probably been listening to it since Raising Hell, but Run DMC. But it starts to get like bigger and bigger in '88 in my mind, and it just becomes this music that I'm obsessed with. Beastie Boys are big, but that's actually a good point. So like Native Tongues, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul is all happening. Public Enemy is happening.
De La Soul could have been in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a very Native Tongues movie to me, but one of the things that was so meaningful about this movie to me was that, like, obviously, like, there was this collision of black culture with, like, the white mainstream that was, like, at once lucrative for hip-hop, but on the other hand, like, it had a lot of inherent issues. And this movie kind of confronted those head-on. Like, it's about race in a way that is actually pretty honest and confrontational and funny. And it's, like, one of the last times where you almost, like, were, like, watching a movie about race and laughing.
Right.
Like...
This is Rember Brown joining us.
I agree.
Mic on? Good.
It's better, like it handles race without like being heavy-handed about it,
Yeah.
and it's why it's better than every movie that is like trying to be about race in the past 20 years. that is like it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
you know?
it's almost innocent when you go back and look at it, and you're just like, these are just like all the problems in the world are going to get worked out on this Venice Beach pickup game.
Well, there's another part, and this was the era of Bird being the best player in basketball, but also being white, and the Celtics being the white team, and the Lakers being the black team, and all that stuff. And it trickled into a couple other movies, like the Spike Lee thing. But it also trickled in when you played. Like when I would play, if I ever played in a thing where we were the minority, the white guys, they would call us like Liam Beer.
Yeah.
They would call us like these derisive white guy player names, and so it was always this undercurrent. Friendly though, it was just part of the basketball thing,
it's trash
and I love
talk.
that White Man Can't Jump tapped into that. I don't think people do that anymore.
I actually
If
really
I played basketball, people would be like, hey, come on, Liam Beer.
a couple of things ruined my basketball abilities. Like for one thing, not going left, being able to go left.
Yeah, that was
being
always-
short, slow, and having no vertical jump. But one of the things
Yeah.
was people calling me Mullen when I was on the court and
'cause of the
mistaking
hair.
it that I thought like, well, I guess I'm just a knockdown shooter, so I would
Right.
just shoot every time, and people were just like, stop picking
They're
me.
just disappointed.
Yeah, they're like, I thought you were Mullen, and I'm like, I didn't say I was Mullen. You said I was
You
Mullen.
said you anointed me Mullen.
Yeah.
I never said I was Mullen.
Another 80s basketball thing in this movie is Raymond, who's the funniest character in the movie. The Raymond scene is one of the great
Yeah,
sports movie
Raymond
scenes.
going back to the car for
Raymond
his
gets
other
his
gun.
It's amazing.
Tries to commit a liquor store robbery. He has a knife. He gets
No, he's a
confused. Like,
straight
I'm getting
razor.
my gun, I'm shooting everybody.
He's straight
But
razor.
He's played by Marcus Johnson, who in the late 70s was Milwaukee's best player. Milwaukee almost made the finals with him as best player. Going back further, was UCLA's best player. Got traded to the Clippers. Like, he was a real guy.
What was it like? What were the Clippers like back then when he was
Well,
on the
when
Clippers?
he got hurt when he was on the Clippers.
Okay.
But he was San Diego first. But
Clippers curse.
I would compare him to like a better Paul Millsap.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like he was.
Can you imagine Paul Millsap like walking around with a straight razor?
Right. So Marcus Johnson was really good, and then to see him in this movie, it's like it would be like if Bernard King had played Raymond. Same,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he was like at that level. It's like, oh my God, that's Marcus Johnson, and he has this killer scene in this.
Yeah, we're
movie.
talking about your mama jokes
Yeah.
earlier, and if you ever want to just like rattle someone in 2017,
Can you imagine?
Just like hit them with like a mama joke, like no one knows what to do with themselves. It's amazing. I've done it in the past
it
2
would
weeks.
Be like a one of those fights where like immediately the people who are fighting start crying because like it's too emotional.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you ever see like a bar fight and then you look and the dude who like like the guy who started the bar fight is crying and you're like, well, you okay, man? Like,
Well, my son still throws out mama jokes. Rem, where do you stand on Rosie Perez?
I love Rosie Perez.
Okay, in this movie, not too much. I thought her usage rate was too high.
No, I mean
Not you was perfect for you.
I don't need to tell the same puberty story twice. It's already happened once. Yeah, it's like Rosie Perez is like
a formative.
formative
Figure,
person.
yeah.
Like
Okay.
Thank you, White Man Can Jump. Thank you, Spike Lee.
Yeah.
Thank you. I also think this movie has like I don't know if you've already covered this, but I'm gonna get this line wrong, but it's a Sidney Dean quote where I think he's like, just because you put a cat in the oven, don't make it a biscuit.
I love that.
There's
That's
a
good
lot
one.
of like very poetic trash talk where it's just like, you know, like it's hard goddamn work making some this. Like, can you imagine somebody trying to set something like that up, and it's just like,
Another pickup
yeah,
game.
yeah, and just be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you know, like,
I don't mean to brag, but I'm the greatest.
but
Hey,
there,
speaking of Sydney,
yeah,
it's unclear how he made money. Because at one point he mentions, maybe the wife mentions, or he mentions it to her, he's got the roof thing, the cable thing, and the paint thing, and he's got basketball.
yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently that's how he was
Odd
making
jobs.
his money at the time.
And,
He's an
and
odd jobs
basketball
guy.
looks like a $4 an hour job.
But how
Because
many
when
times
you're
could
out
you-
there on the court, if you make $50 in a game, and are you splitting
Splitting
that
it.
among 5 guys or
But
3 guys?
How many hustling opportunities do you have? In
Well, this
LA
is the thing: is that
basketball?
when I
There's like
watched
5
this
courts.
game, I thought like my two thoughts coming out of the late '80s and the early '90s were that the two most attractive jobs in the world were pickup basketball hustler
Yes.
and minor league baseball catcher. Thank you, Ron Shelton. That's definitely why I was like, I just want to be a 40-year-old catcher in Durham, North Carolina, and be like with Susan Sarandon. That looks like an awesome life.
So imagine how messed up my reality was, because I saw this movie really early and then went straight into idolizing And One mixtape. So I literally was like, the only job I've ever wanted if I want to be a successful man in this world
Yeah.
is be a pickup basketball player.
I know.
Like the only difference is like Like, and one.
Have you ever tried to hustle someone at pickup basketball?
tennis?
You have you hustled
I've
somebody at
like
tennis?
absolutely hustled. Like I've like gone out and
I've never in my life been able to hustle
and like
anybody.
I've hustled people in pool.
I've
Have
hustled
you
people-
really?
Yeah.
It's like how? Like so you pretend to be bad and then play well?
Yeah, you miss a couple and then
I've hustled people in
why don't we play
doubles.
for money and then you say,
I've been like I had a friend who would like pick me as like a doubles partner, and I
Would
was
you,
just
you
like,
start stretching?
I was just like I like didn't have
Give him the jump, man.
but non-basketball.
So,
So-
it's, oh, god.
Sydney throws the game. Are we okay with that decision when he Billy Hoyle took $62 off him and he double crosses him for $1,700? It seemed excessive, is my point.
I mean, I thought, but I remember when that happens, my heart
It
breaks.
hurt. It hurts.
Yeah.
It really does hurt. Made me not like Sydney. Also, like, disgrace the playground pyramid a little bit.
That is
Little
true.
shoeless Joe Jackson-y.
Yeah. But that's what cons are all about. You got to get to the long one.
How did you feel about Woody Harrelson being able to guard players of all shapes and sizes, including some 6'8" guys?
I think Woody Harrelson, like, my favorite thing about the movie is that, like, just he's so much better than Sydney.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's there's
just
two
go there.
things
Let's just go there.
Let's
I
just
mean-
go there. So, by all accounts, Wesley Snipes was a very good athlete who had no idea how to play basketball, and they taught him. And if you watch carefully, and this is my number one flaw with the movie, Rosie Perez getting too much usage being number two, he's not a basketball player. And the stuff that he's doing, like, first of all, here's how you know he's not a basketball player. Compare his game to a basketball player. What player would it be? I just compared Woody Harrelson to
Video
17
game
players.
Stephon Marbury? I don't know.
Baryshnikov. like what he's doing is so theatric. It's beautiful. That's why those slow mo shots work.
I think that's the only way they could shoot him is in slow motion.
It's beautiful. Like they're
He
not.
carries every single dribble. Like, not that you would call that,
Marcus
but like,
Johnson must have been like, "Oh my God, guys, come on!"
yeah.
Like
Come on.
the
Yeah, he carries more
the,
than
the,
anyone.
like the exaggerated like top of the key fake bounce pass.
Yeah.
Like they're beautiful.
Or the no look throw over the head.
Woody
Oh,
looks
this
like
one? Yeah, that
Oh, yeah.
one's great.
But Woody had that little Marco Bellinelli, little Zach Levine for Woody, somewhere in the middle of there.
But-
Definitely a European game.
The other side of it is that like Wesley Snipes looks like the best basketball player I've ever seen. Like
Look, the way he carries. Yeah,
like
the hat.
the double tank top.
Yeah.
is like a look I'm still trying
Billy,
to do.
Woody's fashion has gone on to influence generations of people to the extent that if you walk out to Silver Lake, Los Feliz right now, half of the population dresses like Billy Hoyle.
Yeah.
But Wesley Snipes is so iconic, and no one can really pull off biker shorts, short shorts.
The hat.
Two tank tops and a Lance Armstrong cyclist hat,
Yeah.
flipped up.
He also pulled off "Always Bet on Black" as the Passenger 57 tagline, which I really don't think more than two other actors could have pulled off with a straight face.
And I think maybe kept it for Blade also.
I would
So
put
you comparing to Eric Bledsoe? If Eric Bledsoe just lost his mind and started carrying and doing no look passes, but
yeah,
had
and
that
if
same
Eric
kind of
Bledsoe
body-
was shot in slow motion and everybody else was in
Yeah.
like it was like a Beastie Boys video where they like shot it
Yeah.
at two different speeds.
But also like dressed like a member of Jodeci sometimes. like it is like one of the most iconic looks. Like
Could you go out dressed like Wesley Snipes in that movie? Not you, but just any human being. Could you go out in public and fit in without people staring at you twice? I feel like yes.
yeah, you could. I could not, but yes, you.
No, not you.
Yeah,
But I think you'd have to.
I've heard a story that when Ray Lewis used to go out to like clubs in Atlanta, sometimes he would just wear like Under Armour like shorts and like a tank top. And like if they ever gave him trouble, he would just give them a look like, I've like, you know, and then they let him in.
Word on the street is that Colin Orcutt, the head of video for The Ringer, dressed up as Billy Hoyle 2 Halloweens ago.
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Are you having any documentation of this?
He's
All Colin would
made
have to
the
do is
mistake
wear a
of
pair of
sending me a
shorts and an
photo.
orange sweatshirt,
Yeah.
though. You
Yeah.
know, like I want that parental advisory T-shirt that he has. Here's the thing I wanted to talk about, though, Bill, is the scene, the tournament. I wanted to talk about the whole tournament sequence, but specifically their arrival and the scene that basically where he's like, "Are you like gets?" He tries to get Sydney mad. Where
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Hoyle tries to get Sydney mad.
Why does he do that? Did we ever figure it out?
Yeah, he's basically like, you need to get locked in. You need like, you play better when you're angry. And he's like, you know, the greats always play better when you're angry. And that's when he gets into like, I can hear Jimmy, and he starts yelling at Sydney, and like he's yelling at Dwayne Martin and his his teammate.
yes,
but then Sydney's just like, you got to stop. You're going to get them angry. And he's like, no, I'm going to get you angry because you play better when you're angry.
Yeah.
And they start doing that. And that was like, so we were talking before about YouTube and putting the Yo Mama jokes up on there. That was back like when you could tell the power of a scene and like how funny or amazing it was by how often you and your friends would basically just like reenact it in high school hallways. You're just like, we got to just basically just do an impromptu version of this white man can't jump scene, and we would do that for like all the movie scenes that we really loved, you know. And that was like the only other one that got as much burn as that. I can't even think, like, we're like Beverly Hills Cop or 48 Hour scenes that were just so mind-blowingly funny that you could like you only do them justice by like basically reenacting them.
My only example is Chappelle. Like literally, like you had to watch Chappelle because the next day, like you'd have to know how to do an entire role.
We would do that too with Live in Color too.
Yeah.
Like we would come in on Mondays.
SNL had moments like that.
Yeah.
If the right
But like
cast
from a
members.
movie, like it's hard to think of like, okay, like we need 4 people to act out this entire scene.
And you just would like just dudes screaming in pickup games every time they would hit a shot from 1992, 1993. I can hear Jimmy. I can hear Jimmy. It's just like I still in my mind can hear that.
You know what I would have loved? More of that tournament, unless Rosie Perez. Tournament goes by too fast. All of a sudden, we're in the finals against Dwayne Martin, who then runs it back 2 years later and above the rim. Dwayne Martin doing double duty.
Has Dwayne Martin become
basketball.
an agent? Is that a thing? Is that he's like an agent now? Am I making that up?
He might be. He's Will Smith's best friend.
Is he still?
That kind of became Will Smith's best friend. Let's just move on.
I will say, I heard y'all talking about Kadeem. Kadeem.
Yeah. What's Kadeem up to?
I don't know. I think I saw him pop up on that show Real House Husbands of Hollywood.
Oh, really?
Kevin Hart?
Really?
Yeah.
I might have seen 12 of those.
I will say,
I'm just gonna do a Kadeem IMDb while you're talking.
I think the Wayans brothers took his corner.
Wesley Snipes as Sidney Dean and Kadeem as Dwayne Wayne. Like those are 2 of the most like iconic like black actor characters like looks of all time. Like the flip glasses.
He doesn't get enough credit.
Like he's a legend. Like I mean like those 2 like that movie and that show. Like
that's how I knew
he's kind of legendary.
That's how I knew I didn't have enough black people in my life growing up because
you didn't watch Different World?
No, when they spun it off, I liked it. And it was like, oh, nobody's watching that. And meanwhile, it's like this iconic show.
Also,
it's just
like
not
nobody is watching that back then. It was like
unfortunately.
22 million people watching it. You know?
So many people. It'd be the number one show
More
by
people
10 million
watched
people
one
now.
episode of A Different World than like ever watched all of Girls put together at any time. And it's just like, nobody watched Different World. What a cult hit.
So a sophisticated take to always have is to like A Different World more than Cosby Show. It's a good take.
It's a safe
nice
take
take.
now.
It's a good take to have. But even before all the stuff.
So I have a couple important questions.
Yeah.
Billy Hoyle, Gamblers Anonymous, probably wouldn't have been a bad idea
another
for
thing
him,
about
right?
this movie that's tough. Like I think, especially when you're young, is understanding the self-destructive streak he has. Because it's like,
I don't like that. I like when movies promote gambling, like in Hardball with Keanu Reeves, when a big bet saves everything. I'd rather have gambling be a positive. No, I don't like when people lose stuff when they gamble, have to fake their
what's
deaths.
the McConaughey?
2 for the money.
2 from the guy. He gets the lines.
We need more positive gambling stories. So he definitely was a Hall of Fame bad gambler, but is Rosie Perez an alcoholic in this movie? Who drinks wine from the bottle?
I thought it was vodka.
But then she has a bottle of wine. She's just
That's
drinking.
fine. No, that's fine.
Okay.
They're living in like a
scenes where she's
motel in
sneaking
Venice.
I mean,
not
she's
projecting.
sneaking drinks for herself, though. What are they trying to do with that?
I mean, I think living with Billy Hoyle is probably stressful.
It's stressful studying all those almanacs for Jeopardy too,
That's
man.
true.
Yeah.
And when they moved to LA, wouldn't that have been enough to get away from the bad
Stucci
guys in
brothers? Yeah, I
Louisiana?
think
the Stucci brothers are just going to find her?
I don't know. This is also like
In the middle of nowhere in
pre-GPS,
LA?
pre looking people up on the internet. It's like Rosie Perez is on Twitter, like I'm just roller skating through Venice, studying for Jeopardy.
Dropping geotagging.
Yeah.
So what do they just go to every
I guess they
pickup
must have just like
basketball
gotten
court?
word that that's where they had run to.
It felt kind of cartoonish.
Yeah.
It's just like in a cartoon, like the bad guys just are always chasing after you.
But
forever.
that scene though at the end where she's just like, if you gamble away my money, that's it, and he's just like, it's the last time, and he thinks she's gonna still be there, and she isn't. It's like that was a very adult thing to watch in 1992 for me. I was like, wait,
left.
that happens?
Skated away.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break to talk about Lyft. They've been in the news lately. I started using Lyft after they made a deal with LAX. All you had to do is download the app and you can get a ride in minutes 24/7 for less than the cost of a cab. That sounded great to me. Every Lyft driver is fully vetted through their 10-point safety standard, including criminal and DMV background checks. They're rated after every ride. Only the best stick around. And with Lyft, you can tip in the app, which obviously leads to happier and better drivers. 9 out of 10 Lyft rides get a perfect 5-star rating from the passenger. It's also the highest-rated ride-sharing app. And it's your buddy if your car's in the shop, if you had one too many beverages, or if you're my wife and you ran over a pothole for the 200th time. People are actually getting rid of their cars and relying on Lyft to get around. And you know what? I don't blame them. So, hey, you might be excited to download Lyft this week for reasons that are in the news. I will let you Google them. Right now, Lyft is offering our listeners a special deal. Get 3 free rides up to $10 each. That's up to a $30 value when you enter promo code Bill Simmons. That happens to be my name. Download the free Lyft app today. Enter promo code Bill Simmons in the payment section. 3 free rides up to $10 each. What do you have to lose? Try it out. Lyft, Lyft. Back to the podcast.
White Men Can't Jump. Best title ever for a sports movie?
Unconditionally.
It's
I
incredible.
was trying to think of a better one, and it's always like Rocky.
Yeah, Slapshot,
Hoosiers,
Major
The
League,
Natural,
great
Major
movies.
League.
Yeah. 8 Men Out, nice
It's-
movies, like all
White Men
great.
Can't Jump is an amazing title.
And
It's arguably one of the best movie titles ever.
They don't make movies like there aren't like they talk about that where like they made that and they were like, are people gonna feel like this is too edgy? And you know, Ron Shelton talks about this where it's like the film studios weren't as conservative because they weren't as backed by like all these major financial conglomerates or like, you know, investment funds or whatever. So they could kind of take chances, and that's why they went with, you know, Wesley Snipes instead of Denzel Washington and Rosie Perez instead of Holly Hunter. And not
Holly Hunter.
Holly Hunter as Gloria.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it would have been a different
That is some
character.
bad casting.
It would have been amazing if Holly Hunter had just played the same character.
Or played the character from the piano.
Yeah. God. But
Maybe that could still happen.
it's like a pretty edgy, you know, cast, and like just the fact that they called the movie White Men Can't Jump in 1992 was like, everybody I knew was just like snapped to attention when we heard that. We were like, what is this movie about?
It would not like. It'd be called something so corny now.
It would be called like Rules of the Game.
Like
or,
basketball's like basketball's a beach.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know, the other thing that happened was all the foreigners that came into the NBA, more white guys from just basically everywhere, Europe, Russia, whatever. But like from 80 to 92, the white versus black NBA conversation was always a conversation.
Sure.
You know, a little like what we talked about earlier. And it does feel like that was an edgier title than now. It'd be like, White Men Can't Jump. It'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, and you could just list all these different.
What are you talking about? You
people
guys
from all
never seen Mario Hazonia?
You're right.
Yo, what if they made a football movie called Black Man Can't Pass?
That would be your 2017 precious take of the person.
About black quarterbacks. It's just a black guy in Texas just being like, who shows up at a high school football game. He's like, I play quarterback.
Would that be a hot take in 2017 if this movie came out that White Men Can't Jump is not
Yeah,
a
that's
PC
the problem.
title?
It's like weird because we were
Why,
just.
you wouldn't say that about that. Like, I feel like somebody would write that piece
I just.
and we would mock it.
I think you know what the problem is that white people got too much respect in basketball now.
I completely agree.
that was my point.
Yeah,
with all
I
the Europeans
completely
and the
agree.
foreigners. Back then it was
agree.
like Larry Bird and nobody else had
Yeah,
respect.
Craig
Maybe
Elo.
a little John Stockton, Mark Price.
Mark Price could shoot.
And you
Yeah.
know who I bet is the most pissed about that white people got so much respect? Larry Bird.
Larry Bird definitely. Why do you think
Bird's
Larry
like,
Bird's
"God
like drinking
damn
a
it."
case of Coors right now? Just be like, you know what I had to do in the '80s to get this name?
It was basically just him. So Woody Dunks, they admit it was a 9.5 foot rim. It
Yeah.
might
So
have been a 9
my
foot
favorite
rim.
part of Golianopoulos' oral history is the fact that it sounds like that set was large scale side bets and prop bets on people playing horse, with them fitting some shooting of a movie inside, like all out gambling addictions.
Everything I've ever read about Woody Harrelson suggests that he's one of the most fun people to have in your life.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and if you're on a movie set with him, it's just constant. And even on Cheers, they were like, those guys were just drinking all the time and betting. And
I'm pretty sure just in like the majesty of Woody Harrelson, there's a David Blaine special where he's like doing a trick on Kanye and they pan the camera
And Woody
over
Harrelson's
and Woody
there.
Harrelson's just there
Yeah.
also. I'm like, I just want to know more. I always want to know
Woody
more.
Harrelson also just like every time Woody Harrelson is put into something, no one's ever just like, are we sure we need to? Like when they cast Woody Harrelson in the Han Solo movie
Right.
to be Han Solo's mentor, 99.9% approval rating. Nobody was like, are we sure Woody Harrelson could be Han Solo's mentor? It's like, no, that makes complete sense. 100%.
so here's
yeah.
what this led for Woody. White Men Can't Jump, Indecent Proposal, I'll Do Anything, I don't remember that one. Cowboy Way, Natural Born Killers, Money Train.
Money Train.
Yes.
It's a trilogy for Snipes and Harrelson if you go back to Wildcats.
That's in a box set at Sam's
Kingpin,
Club
are you a
right now.
Kingpin fan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kingpin, People versus Larry Flint.
I thought
All of a
half
sudden
the-
he's a major movie
I
actor.
thought half
got
those movies
nominated.
were McConaughey. I always get them confused. I still get them confused.
That's the thing. If there's no McConaughey, it's like what our friend Wesley Morris always used to call the market correction.
Yeah, I mean,
McConaughey took some Woody roles.
Yeah.
There's no question.
but did they?
Woody should have been in Dazed and Confused.
But did they continue to
But
let
here's the
themselves
genius
exist?
of Woody Harrelson is
They
that
think they needed each other.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson like just coasts. Like Woody Harrelson originally read for McConaughey's role in True Detective, and then when they were like, "Well, we're gonna get McConaughey," Woody was like, "He should play Russ Cole, and I should play the other guy." Like it was like he always knows exactly the level he needs to be at, which is
probably
why
was
he
really
is
stoned.
always successful.
That's
He
great.
never like outshoots. You know what I mean? Like he always knows his range.
She's like, I don't want to be Katniss.
Yeah.
I want to be the old drunk dude.
But that guy he got like so paid, and everybody who worked on Hunger Games was like, that dude is like my favorite person I've ever worked
Yeah.
with, and he wore a terrible wig and is like, go get him. For 5 movies is like, you go out there, you do your thing.
Some really good No Country for Old Men, Woody Harrelson.
Oh my
too.
god, like 65 seconds on screen, he's incredible.
So here's Snipes. Snipes goes Major League,
This is gonna get dark.
Mo Better Blues,
No, but it gets.
New Jack City, Jungle Fever, Water Dance, White Men Can't Jump.
He's really good in Water Dance.
Water Dance is a good movie, and Passenger 57. So this is we were talking about this at
Wait, did you
lunch.
say Murder at 1600?
That was after. This is
Sure.
no, because we were talking about
Classic.
the Black Actor Championship belt,
Yeah.
which Eddie had from 82 to 89, basically, even if you count Harlem Nights, which some people like. Trust me, at the time, nobody liked it. Now I
enjoy
think
it.
it's Snipes basically from 89 on.
When's Boomerang?
Boomerang was 92, I think, 92, 93. But Snipes grabs the belt, and Snipes becomes... And then all of a sudden, Denzel comes in, and we were talking about it. We looked up Denzel's IMDb.
It's like once Malcolm X happens in '92, it's just like.
But then then 93, he just goes Philadelphia Pelican Brief.
Yeah.
And it's over.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Julia Roberts, get off me! I'm on Jet every week.
And Snipes, for whatever reason, I mean, obviously he had some personal issues, but by the late 90s was out.
Yeah.
It was a little bit like what happened when it was like Keaton versus Hanks for a while, and then Michael Keaton just was out
Wesley
after
Snipes
Batman.
went to prison for
He went
for
to prison
tax
for
evasion.
But that was,
evasion.
that was
Yeah.
much later. I think,
was later.
I think the thing about Snipes is that like he had like a lane at being like a sexy man in his 20s, but like didn't have that lane in his 30s the way Denzel.
He also chose
Well, Denzel's
very
a much
specifically
better
to
actor.
do
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but to do action movies. I mean, Denzel never went full action. Wesley Snipes, when he did Blade, was like, "This is great." You basically like I don't know like why like he chose to do this, but like that's an incredibly lucrative choice to make if you can become an action star for 15 years. Like
That's true.
hundreds of like so many people go see those movies. Whereas like it's
I
like
don't know. Like
Denzel's never done a summer blockbuster, by the way. That's my favorite thing about him. Never done one.
if
he's made plenty of like thrillers. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
if we
Bone
didn't,
Collector.
Rem owns the Bone Collector corner.
It's my only
Anytime
corner.
Bone Collector comes up,
What's
he
the one
wants,
with Lithgow?
he wants in. Oh,
Ricochet.
Ricochet. I liked Ricochet.
Yeah.
That's my
Ricochet's good.
ideal Denzel mustache from Ricochet.
I think Snipes should have had a better post 94 career.
Yes.
Like I wish like he had.
I think Wesley Snipes would agree.
You know what would help? Like just for 2 years, just join the cast of ER after Clooney leaves. Like make a big market TV.
That didn't
move
work
for
for
2
Mekhi
years.
Pfeiffer, really. But
Take all those Morris Chestnut early roles.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. He was too old to be in that kind of Omar Epps, Morris Chestnut.
Tay Diggs, he missed like
Tay
the
Diggs,
wood.
he
He
missed
missed
it.
the wood.
He missed the Wood era.
Oh,
And
that's
that would
true.
have prolonged him for like he never did like the high school reunion
Yeah.
movie or like he just immediately
He
went
comes
weird
back.
with
He
sci-fi.
made like a pass at it, like of doing prestigious stuff in Brooklyn's Finest, which is sort of like it's like Ethan Hawke and Don Cheadle, Wesley Snipes, and Richard Gere.
You're so right though. He should have just been one of those dudes that was on like CSI for 10
That's
years.
what I mean.
But that's not
he's
a
so
recipe
fucking
for him
likable.
being like the get the Black Actor Championship belt. Is
No,
not being
it was
on.
over because
Oh.
then Will Smith and Denzel. That
Yeah,
was
you guys
it.
are just
It was
talking about
over.
for the good of the game. He should have
I'm
been
just saying
on.
to stay in the game.
Yeah.
To like stay in like.
He could have done CSI. He could have done ER season 4 to season 6. There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot.
I really
yeah.
like Wesley Snipes. I'm mad that he decided
Oh,
to
yeah.
just disappear
Yeah.
from my life as, you know.
Can I? I don't even know if I believe what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But for a if you take out all the roles Denzel had of just him portraying other like famous black people,
Yeah.
I don't know if he has like as iconic of a character as.
Can I tell you something?
As Nino Brown.
You don't believe this.
Wow.
That's completely untrue. I love Nino Brown as like a character, but come on, man.
But no. I mean, just like
If you take away Malcolm X
I'm taking.
and Steve Biko,
All right. I'm going on the IMDb.
Like I don't know. I don't know if I believe it, but like Nino Brown is like a culturally like
It's
people
the
know
character he wanted from American Gangster, and it didn't happen.
yes, I guess I see what you're saying.
Denzel-
He
Yeah.
was like, I'm going to take Nino Brown, and everyone's like, why don't you play somebody like Nino Brown? He's like, I'm going to do American Gangster.
Like Denzel
No.
has like 12 better roles, like, but Denzel also had that run of being like a great actor in a bad movie.
Yes, he
Which
still,
is-
yeah, he still does.
That's
yeah.
Still does.
That is my favorite Denzel. Man on Fire
John
Denzel.
Q, baby.
Deja Vu Denzel.
Yeah.
What's the one with Eva Mendes and Sana Latham?
Oh, the one that's set in Miami.
I love that one.
Yeah.
I'm going
yeah.
on his IMDb now.
They were like 8 in a row. It was incredible.
Is this like you guys' third podcast about Denzel Washington today?
Out of time.
out of time?
Out of time.
Well, you have Training Day Denzel and Remember the Titans Denzel. I disagree. I think he's been on the Nino Brown.
Maybe. Like, that's what I'm saying. I didn't
You
know.
wouldn't put Man on Fire, that character against
No, because what's that character's name?
Creasy.
I don't remember that. You've just seen Man on Fire like 15 times. Like
Well,
I love Man on
Chris
Fire.
Ryan
I think.
and I-
I mean, I think
Chris
Crimson
Ryan and I are
Tide.
starting a kidnap hostage podcast. It's only 2 movies, but we're doing
Yeah, no,
it.
it's just proof of life and Man on
all
Fire.
over again.
But we're gonna do 150 episodes about it. The first 63 are just about David Caruso and Proof of Life.
Oh, Crimson Tide. Man, Denzel's been in a lot of good movies. I mean,
Crimson Tide is incredible. Courage Under Fire is incredible. The Siege is incredible. Denzel is amazing in that movie.
No, I'm not saying that Denzel's not incredible. I'm just saying.
No, I know what
like,
you're saying.
Like
Yeah.
Nino Brown is
Nino
like,
Brown was amazing.
Is like that's like an incredibly like.
But if
Nino Brown might
iconic role.
outlive
how
Wesley
much is
Snipes.
but
Like,
to me
I agree with that.
here's my New Jack City power rankings. Judd Nelson. Judd Nelson was so iconic in New Jack City, and I'm sorry, I know this is like ridiculous, but it's not, and it's not fair that a white man wins New Jack City. But Judd Nelson completely
the
wins.
worst take you've ever had.
I thought that Judd Nelson had the comeback so far in front of Robert Downey
I'm walking out of
Jr.
this place. I'm going back to New York right now. Oh my God! You went with
Chris
Judd.
Rock 3.
Judd Nelson,
Judd 1.
Bill Cobb,
Fine.
Chris Rock,
Ice-T.
Ice-T, then Wesley.
Then Wesley
Yeah,
Snipes.
Wesley Snipes is fourth.
Well,
Oh my God!
it's funny. Like he was in the conversation for a few years. Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
And now it's
Can
like
you imagine
he
it's
just
like
kind of
going around being
belonged.
like Danny Aiello, one do the right thing?
Well, now it's like Wesley Snipes just kind of belongs to the 90s, which is like a weird legacy for
He's
him.
very active on Twitter though.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I know he's still going now, but like his body of work feels very 90s to me.
Also, for
New
what-
Jack City
yeah.
feels 90s.
For what it's worth, like Ice-T's just been steadily acting for
Yeah.
20 plus years. Like SVU is still like in these streets.
Yeah.
And he's in every episode. And He's like, it's amazing. Like,
Yeah,
we were talking about Keenan like earlier. It's like, he's got to like sticking around for 20 years is like.
There's a value.
You should
to
get that should get you in some Hall of Fame, something.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think that Ron Shelton should have just kept making movies like this?
I think it's hard.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I love the origin story of this.
I don't know, like where you go next,
like
right?
he used
tried
to just
play to the bone. It didn't work.
Yeah, and he tried Cobb.
Didn't work.
But Tin Cup.
Tin Cup to me worked.
Yeah, so he's got 3 that are perfect.
What else can't
great
white
ones.
men do?
Govern. Yeah.
White men can't lead. Like, I feel like he should have just kept with that thing. Like,
That
black
should have
men
been like
can't
a website
skate
or something.
Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like he had a good formula.
So it made $75 million, which is a lot at the time.
Yeah.
And now they're talking about remaking it.
Uh-huh.
And I watched this under the lens of, should this movie be remade? Blake Griffin is involved. Kenya Barris is involved.
That's just Michael B. Jordan's role, right?
I mean,
That's right. That's just his role.
so this is.
He's like built like him.
So
Like,
I hate all remakes, and instinctively I don't want them to happen. Then I watch this movie. It feels very 90s to me. The pop culture references are like Brady Bunch, Opie, Gomer Pyle, Godfather, Jeopardy, all stuff
Jane
that belongs to
Fonda,
another.
Dick Gregory,
It's
yeah.
all stuff that belongs to another era. And then the movie itself, like, I could have used about 25% more basketball. Maybe there is a way to remake this and make it
So
more
you know what
modern.
they probably
I'm back in on the remake.
You
is
know
my
what they
point.
have to do to kind of like keep. Here's the thing: this movie comes out at not a time of innocence by any stretch of the imagination, but prior to the LA riots, right? So like, there's like a different. I think there's a different mainstream pop cultural conversation about race relations, like right before this movie comes out, and to like after this movie comes out.
Yep.
So they have to find something that is like the Woody going into Inglewood version of this movie, and I don't know what that is.
TFA.
Or it's like a black guy going into like rural America and playing basketball in like, you know, Illinois or Indiana. Do you know what I mean? You have to like switch the settings up.
What if it's Billy Hoyle Jr.?
That's what they'll probably
starred
do.
by
Yeah, see, that's gonna
And it's
suck.
Miles Teller.
Well, oh, right. Sorry, I'm back in. So, if you told me right now, Kenya Barris writing the remake and modernizing it, and MBJ is the Wesley Snipes type of character, I think I'm in, and I'm anti-remake.
Completely in.
I mean, I would 100% see it. And you know that they have to go Wesley and Woody in there somewhere. Like they're playing in a seniors tournament or something like that.
Yeah.
Or they teach these guys. They're not going to make it like a straight reboot. They'll have like characters from the old movie in
We
there.
all agree that even though it's 25 years, and even though this movie still holds up and it's super watchable, it is dated. And there is a way to modernize it and make a new version of it that's fun. Like I didn't like the idea for Creed.
I just don't
And
even
then
know like
MBJ
how
was
do
in,
you
I was like,
hustle.
all right,
I
I'll
know
give it a
that
chance.
how you hustle people online, like you con them and you dox them and fish their emails and stuff like that. How would you even con somebody in real life now? They would be like, hold up, let me Google you. Oh wait, look, there's this video of you dunking on someone. I know that you're good at basketball. Do you know what I mean?
no
Like,
problem.
I just don't even know how like everybody is on tape.
It's like you paid for your followers.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I don't know.
Can I throw this at you?
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler directing,
I mean,
MBJ as the lead.
that's the movie that should just. I mean,
It's a tiny bit darker, and better filmed and less like comedy kind of with the soundtrack.
it's doing guitars. It's
kinda-
doing banjos.
It's Coogler that kind of does his thing to it, and I think that's a really interesting movie.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll happen. I
and
did
it's
that
set in
dude that's 40
Wakanda. Black Panther's actually about white man can't jump. It's the sequel.
I watched Creed again.
Yeah, it's good.
And we need to do a podcast about it soon.
Okay.
I'm ready. I've seen it 5 times though.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good, and I'm ready to revisit though whether Moneyball was the best sports movie.
So
of this
Creed
decade
is in the combo?
conversation. Yeah, I think Creed's in the combo. He's great in it. Coogler's some of the scenes are just fantastic. The 3-minute long same shot boxing scene.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
And Jordan's
it's so
already
good.
Jordan's already swole.
He's Diesel. They
He's
gotta
already
get
Diesel,
all
so he
these
can-
roles out of him while he's still swole.
Yeah.
I think Teller might still be swole from Bleed for this.
Oh man.
Yeah,
How do we
I mean-
fix Teller? Could Teller play hoops?
I don't know. I think
Could he be Billy Hoyle Jr.? Willie Hoyle?
Elgort.
Elgort can dunk.
Elgort can dunk.
Yeah, Elgort can play.
I saw him miss 8 dunks once, but I saw him make the 9th.
Yeah, because I made fun of him on Grantland, and he like tweeted at me like, "Come to Brooklyn and I'll dunk on you." And he
was
put a video of
amazing.
himself dunking there.
Well, here's the other reason why this movie would work, out of many reasons. You know they load it with NBA cameos, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You'd have 7, like, Westbrook's people would be like, Russ, I think this would help with your brand, like if you're in this movie and one of the pickup guys. And it will be, I would say, 80% NBA guys would be the guys that they put
What if the
pickup
first scene is at like the celebrity game? And
against. Oh, now we're ready to the movie for Katie Barris.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, this is free. Never mind.
Katie, give us a consulting fee.
Yeah.
Do you think that
I'm all for
Matthias
it.
from the Clippers will be in it?
Oh, the equipment manager? Come on. I would imitate Robert. That's rude.
That's rude. That's rude.
Blake's still mad at me that I made an equipment manager tweet joke.
That's fine.
He's still holding against me. All right, so White Man Can't Jump, sports movie, not a rom-com.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Last 40 minutes are a rom-com. I just
know.
hate to break it
Love
down.
that.
Not
But
that comic.
There's enough basketball in there.
It's
I
like
still
rom
think they
sad.
botched
It's like a rom
Yeah,
sad.
it's a human. It's like Kramer versus Kramer at the end of there. It is. It's like ordinary people. You're just like, what is happening? Everybody's lives
Snipes
are falling apart.
Come back.
Sure.
I think we hit everything, right?
Yeah.
All right, good. White Man Can't Jump. Remember Brown? Thank you. We'll
Thank you.
see you. You want to plug any of your movies or anything?
I don't have any new movies coming out. I'm sorry.
Right. Look for Rem.
Rem is starring in Logan.
Rem's new Netflix special premieres February 15th.
Yeah, you can find me and Miles Teller in the remake of White Man Can't Jump.
Chris Ryan, you can listen to him on The Watch and on the Sports Movie Hall of Fame podcast, and you can hear my podcast, the Bill Simmons podcast. Subscribe to all that stuff. We'll be back on Channel 33. What's the next one?
Gosh, I don't know.
Do we
Should we
know
have people
yet?
submit them?
Yeah, I'm almost ready for a He Got Game conversation.
I'm also very prepared for Creed. Whatever you want.
Okay. The He Got Game, I'm ready to go just an hour on why Mila Djokovic is in the whole hooker subplot, why that had to happen, and their choice of soundtracks, but that's for another time. Thanks for listening to the Sports Movie Hall of Fame podcast. Thanks to Jim Cunningham for producing it.
Jim!
All right, that's it for the Sports Movie Hall of Fame, Episode 4, White Man Can't Jump. Don't forget, you can get the first 3 episodes on the Channel 33 feed. That's where these are usually. In the meantime, thanks to Indochino. Get any premium Indochino soup for just $389 at Indochino.com as long as you enter BS at checkout. Thanks to Lyft. Download the free Lyft app today. Enter promo code Bill Simmons in the payment section for 3 free rides up to $10 each. Don't forget about the Ringer NFL show. Lots of good content there this week, and hopefully I will be back on Friday with a new podcast. The mailbag is listed as doubtful for Friday, only because I'm on a ton of medication, and it might be the weirdest, craziest mailbag I've ever written, and not in a good way. I'm heavily medicated right now, just for the record. But hopefully there will be a podcast. I'll just cough all over Brian Curtis. I think Brian Curtis is going to come on. But we'll see. Stay tuned. Wish me well. If you want a mailbag, send me good health vibes. And we'll be back later in the week. Thanks.